Caller, you're on.
You're not going to win with that, Dave. I know.
I'll keep trying.
Seth, you'll never do it.
How you doing, Joe?
If you had to tear that building down, all right, what would it cost the city?
It would be over $100,000 to demolish the building.
Plus with that, including the asbestos, without asbestos.
I'm low estimating it. Let's just say that because what we're doing with that initial asbestos abatement contract, we're also doing some internal demolition, like the laft on the ceiling. So if you were to take that out, altogether with asbestos and with demolition, you're over $100,000, and that's a low estimate.
And you know what? You're refurbishing a building, you're putting it back on the tax roll, and sometimes people don't look at the full picture. You know, they just look at, geez, $146,000. You try to explain to them, we already got a grant involved, and part of that money to be involved for rehab.
Plus, that's just an estimate. Joe, I believe that's an estimate. That's not a bid, right?
That part, the asbestos is a bid.
Oh, that came in already?
That's a bid,
Okay.
143. So that was a bid that came in with work to start very soon. But I want to assure people we're not saying that there isn't a cost involved in this
Were
project.
there 3 bids?
There's
Seth?
3. Yes, there's 3
Okay.
bids. But
Well,
to say that
that's-
there's graft,
Well, that's what I'm saying. Were there 3 bids? Were they sealed bids? Just to eliminate that thought, because that's thrown around pretty good. I mean, go ahead, Joe.
Sometimes, I'm going to say the older generation,
Whoa, Joe. Let's not go too far with the older generation now.
what I'm saying is they don't look at the full picture of the future of the city of Niagara Falls, where a guy like Seth and the younger people you're saying are talking and getting involved are looking at the future. Now, one of the reasons I call this, saw a very interesting story on Channel 2 News the other day. Did you see that stuff?
which one?
It was about the refurbishing of the houses, Buffalo.
Yeah.
Okay, it cost you $1 to buy the house.
Right.
All right, you had to have $5,000 in the bank. They had to live there. Similar plan what you're trying to do in Niagara Falls.
Right.
And it's working in Buffalo. The way I have the story, it was very well. And this is how you have to start looking at Niagara Falls. Don't just tear everything down.
Yeah, we're actually excited. What we did with this last, and thank you for bringing that up, Joe. We off the last in-rem list, we pulled some houses that we're going to do another home ownership auction, like we did last September before the end of 14. And the nice thing is that those houses aren't as far gone as other ones that we've auctioned or worked with other, like Isaiah 61 on. So yeah, no,
these are great projects. Now, do you have to, if you buy one of these houses, because I never heard of how you do it in Niagara Falls, except what you just say. Do you have to have X amount of dollars in the bank to be qualified to buy the house?
What they have to do is, what we do is a little bit different, but that $5,000 actually might be a good idea for us to incorporate. They have to show us their rehab plan and the ability to actually complete it
Right.
through self-help or other financing. But with the $5,000 in the bank, it actually might be something that we should look at and incorporate.
Yeah, and they actually they had the same plan. Is you had to show how you're going to rehab the house. You had to live there for X amount of years, take residency, and now you're putting out. And they're giving you house away for $1.
Yeah, we we do.
The same thing is we're putting houses back on the tax roll.
And Joe, this is the reason why I keep pointing out that we should attach a punch list to the houses that we sell in REM, simply because that's the only way we can keep the housing stock in good shape. If the person that buys a house in REM doesn't have the money to fix the roof or take care of the windows in a proper amount of time, the property is just going to get worse.
Oh, absolutely. I got another question on this thing. A guy, let's say I'm going to buy one of these houses, right, off the REM list. Something happens, I don't know. Would that person or myself be able to work with the Isaiah 51 project to help refurbish that house?
What they would have to do is, Isaiah owns the houses that they renovate. So if they want, we've had situations where people have sold or donated to Isaiah, but they haven't gotten to a point yet where they do work on somebody else's property. But this is the reason why I think things like the fire hall are important. I think Isaiah 61 grows over the next 10 years, where they become I want them to be here, though. I want them to be headquartered here. I don't want to
Right.
miss this opportunity
Right.
to another.
Have there,
To another. I was going to say I don't want to lose them to another city. You know.
Yeah. Now, is there other programs like this throughout the country?
There are similar ones. I think the one that Jim Hayden, Isaiah 61 has come up with is unique in the fact that they combine the job training, home ownership, and the fact that they buy houses from the city and pay tax on them. There's a lot of people are trying to do the same types of things throughout the country.
Right.
There are unique points to this one, and that's why I think it's so important.
But just like any idea, Joe, that's why it's a good idea to discuss ideas with other people, is that every idea develops, as you have other people talk about it or try to, punch holes in it or try to develop it more, so the Isaiah project is actually, as good or better than any of similar projects around the country.
And
Are
that
you starting to get any kind of like recognition throughout the country, throughout the state about this?
it has. I mean, the throughout the state is where we're at right now. People have taken notice of it, and be honest, other cities are looking to meet with them to say how do we get you in our municipality? We are very lucky that Isaiah has said, listen, we've got 7 houses in the pipeline in Niagara Falls. That's our focus. I want to keep it that way. I want this to be the place where they make their name.
Right. Well, thanks.
I think you're doing a great job with this.
Thanks, Joe. I really appreciate that.
Thanks a lot, Joe.
Thank you.
Don't worry about Dave. He'll figure it out.
Caller, you're on.
Good morning, gentlemen. My question is, what about the old police station over there on Walnut Avenue? Why wasn't that considered?
The old police station was pretty big for their needs. Another place that would need, some abatement and some
Number
more.
one is, like the first gentleman says, I go by that building on Highland Avenue. It's been a high crime area. The people tried to make a business. There was a machine shop in there. The guy closed the doors. Next day, his stuff was robbed out of the building. Now we're going to have to put security. There's no parking for, if you got a business going there, you would have to purchase more land for parking. Now you got the police station that sits there. You got parking galore. You got a garage, 2 big garage doors. I mean, you got expandable room where you can put your stuff that you pull from these other homes and, to sell, like you're using the place on High Park, your warehouse. I mean, there's potential there. There's potential even on New Road. There's some property even the city's not even using.
I think you bring up a good point about the police station. There's some other people that were hoping to look at that police station. The problem with this program is that's a lot of square footage for them.
Yeah, but the thing is, you're growing. You're saying, well, I want to grow. Well, if you're going to grow, buy it now.
But if you,
And it's city-owned, and it's sitting there rotten. So now you can get in there, because the city owns the building, and do something with it. And you're talking like you want to make a big change for the city of Niagara Falls. This is your chance to go in there, and you've already got a warehouse on Hyde Park. You can move your warehouse on there. You got footage that you can go in there. You want to train these young men how to do things. You can put a welding shop in there. You got parking galore, so you can actually set things up there. I mean, everything's there. You're talking about putting all that money into a building on Highland Avenue. It's a high crime area. And you know what I'm saying? And, people bought that building a couple of years ago, and they had a machine shop. They came, if you read the history of that area, it's a tough area.
well, I think we did look at the police station early on before the fire hall.
But what the property the city has on New Road? There's property the city owns on New Road they're not even using. Some of them buildings back there.
Well, we made a decision based on the fact that it is a high traffic corner and
It's
that
not a high traffic.
it really is. That's
shootings across the street.
I gotta disagree. If you look at the crime reports in that area, I know that there's a reputation in the past, but if you're ever around, we did a
reputation in the past. This happened recently.
No, if you
Shootings at the bar, a block, less than a block up the street.
if you look at it is a high traffic corner. That's the one thing I gotta disagree with you on. And the cost to remediate and renovate the police station would be very, very high, much higher than what we're talking about now.
There's property. I don't know where you come from, because there's property in Niagara Falls that just went on the auction block, warehouses that went up, places on Main Street that went up, and there's potential property all through the city. And you're saying that this is an ideal place. If it was an ideal place, don't you think when this place was up in auction 3 times that somebody would be still there if they couldn't make a business there?
And-
I mean, you had people that had an ideal shop.
And now the city, now the city owns it and is responsible for what happens further, whether that be not, we actually have to pay taxes on it, even though we.
I realize that, but now where are you going to get the parking at?
The parking, there's actually, if you look at the grass lot between the fire
And the
hall
church.
and the
There's
church,
church there, too.
so there's a lot line that you could actually get, like, you can get a solid 15 spots out of.
I mean, but there's like the gentleman says, there's so much property in Niagara Falls, and to make this decision is kind of somebody wasn't thinking. I mean, I get you. I understand where you're coming from. That you want to do good for the city, and the city is doing this. And Vince, when he was in office, I fought with him on the radio.
Mm-hmm.
I said, listen, when you have these auctions, try to work with the city. Try to get
Right.
the neighbors to buy the empty lots because these investors and they'll.
Well, wait a minute. I remember some of those fights, and I proposed that all the 30-foot lots be split in half and given to the adjacent property owners. And I
He did an
didn't,
excellent job. And
I didn't see any pickets about that.
No, I
You
think,
get these people that come in. It's like that one time there was a gentleman that bought the press box. He goes, "Oh, I'm going to put it." Remember that? He's going to put
Yeah.
a sub shop there.
Right.
And you went and told him, and he goes, "Well, I didn't know the second floor was burnt out." I mean, come on.
Right.
I understand where you're coming from, and I still say you made a very bad decision. There's property that the city owns in Niagara Falls, and sometimes I do, and I moved out of the city, and I was just tired of it. But the thing is, they make decisions. I see where, like on Main Street, the city will sell a building for $20,000, and the city will come back and buy it for $1 million. It doesn't make sense.
well,
Like I say, the building on Highland Avenue, you might think it's an ideal place. If it's an ideal place,
Seth was just part of a group that came up with that. I mean.
well, no, I want to take responsibility for this because I think I know what's going to end up happening if we continue to own it, what we'll have to pay to demolish it. I think that, and sir, I respect everything what you're saying, and that there are other places that you can look and that there's opinions on different places that you could put it. It's not something that we just picked out of nowhere. I think what I would want to say is that.
What about the building? Okay, I retired from the school board.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the school board has property on Walnut Avenue there.
Yeah.
Somebody else just bought it. That was something we
Okay,
were involved in.
Then what about the building behind the Tropicational Center? That used to be the maintenance shop for the school.
Right. He's talking about where the Board of Education used to have their maintenance shop behind Trot. It's a
And
low,
they had- they
it's a
had-
one-floor
they had shops for
building.
welding, carpentry, the whole
Right.
9 yards. Why weren't you looking at that?
Well,
piece of
this-
property?
the one-
Ideal location, right next to Tropicational School.
I know I know what building you're talking about right now. It's actually with the 2 floor of the fire hall, you can actually do classroom space up top and then do your workspace on the bottom.
Could have worked with the Tropicational Center. They got spots in there. You can put classes in there. You can work together.
We are working together with Trot. They actually
That
instruct.
building behind it would have been the ideal spot.
It's not as big.
It's bigger than the fire hall.
Well, but here's the thing. What you said before, we are working with BOCES instructors are the ones that actually run the classes that Isaiah 61 has. What I would want to say is this: is I know that we're talking about cost with this building. Remediation of any building carries cost. I think that when the public sees how the building is configured, they're going to understand that it makes sense and that there's going to be high use of it.
It's going to be high use. It's going to be high. And then you're going to have to put security around the building. I've
spent a lot of time in
the. You got the plant next door that stinks like heaven. If you ever go down there on a foggy day.
The one thing I can say is this: is I've spent a lot of time in this fire hall at all times of day.
I've never seen you there. I go by there every day.
I'm there.
I go down and support
I cleaned it out. There was about 150 computers and about 4 feet of waste inside of the fire hall, and myself and about 10 people cleaned it out. So I'm there.
All right.
Every day, and I notice that when the bar has their private parties across the street, you got litter all across the street, and then you go down to the other bar. They used what's that? The club there, and they got the guys from the press like got to clean up the garbage that they live in their yard. I wish you luck. But
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I appreciate
Thank you.
that.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
very much.
Bad planning.
Thank you.
Like I say, you'll find out down the road it's a bad investment.
Okay,
If it was a good investment. There's people in Niagara Falls like myself and other people that have money would have bought it and done something with it. Would have made apartments out of it, or a restaurant out of it, or something.
They've had that opportunity, but let's see when the project is completed. Let's take a look at it.
Typical fallback we had on that when that plant was up. And all them people had to move out?
Can't speak to that.
Oh, you don't remember that?
Well, I mean, I can't fix something from 20 years ago.
All right, thanks a lot, appreciate it, thank you very much. And again, it's, certainly, it's a city with a lot of thoughts. I don't know if there was a bigger, better place or a better location. My issue is not that at all, because I know that I'm sure there were a lot of
Well,
discussions and.
bringing it back to something we talked about before, the skate park, right? Wherever we decide to put that skate park, there's going to be people that are going to say, I don't like that location.
Right.
And they're going to be right. Right. They're going to have an opinion of it, and it's going to be right.
Right.
But at some point, we do have to try to get as much consensus and
And
pick a
move on,
place.
and move on,
And
exactly.
it's not to disrespect anybody's opinion, but at some point, we do have to then move forward with a specific plan.
Right, exactly. Caller, you're on.
Hello.
Yes.
Hey, this isn't the first time this has been brought up, right? You're not just springing this on everybody now and you're just reacting, right?
No, we've been talking, we applied for the grant 13 months ago. And,
So they could have known about it if they would have been a part of any of the meetings or anything, right?
Yeah, we've been talking, and it was part of the budget, the city budget. We've been talking about this one for a long time, and it's, again, like I said, everyone's opinion is valid, but we do think that this building does have some merit.
Okay.
And I want to say again,
I
it
know-
does pay tax, regular taxes will be collected on it. There's no tax agreement on it. I just wanted to say that again.
Thank you very much,
Well, I
caller.
did have-
I did get a little note on my smartphone that really drives me nuts.
Mine too.
Because I don't think I'm using it for its full potential, But, originally, when we did the municipal building, we had set aside $3 million for the demolition of the for that police station.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons it was given, and certainly backed up with information, was about moving the police station was because it was no longer adequate for the courts and certainly no longer adequate for the police department. And a lot of people don't know that half of the holding cells were closed by the health department,
It's a tough building. Might be a valuable piece of property without a building on it. I mean, it's tough too. It does have a creek that runs through it. But we've taken about 4 or 5 people through that building. And there is a lot of remediation and renovation work that'll be needed for it.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Go ahead, Seth. I see you have.
No, I'm good. I thought that the other caller had something else. I'm good.
No, and all these ideas, and I know that the people, have parochial about their own ideas, but the point is that if you can get a group of 10 people to start discussing an idea, to move forward, you have to come to some kind of consensus, and then you move forward. I don't believe that any decision is 100%. For instance, the municipal building is built. I still get beat up on social media that it's the wrong location. Well, I sat through all the meetings,
Right.
and I listened to the public. Business people on Main Street were begging me to do something there. And in that position, I needed to find ways to help different areas. And a lot of people felt that the municipal building might not be the salvation for the Main Street, but it might keep it on a life support system for a little longer, okay? So what happened was the entire idea got blown apart because we also had in the proposal, we had $3 million for private investment. And you know yourself what $3 million of private investment on a very small neighborhood, what can be done.
Right.
And that was taken out by the city council. We had $3 million to demolish the police station because we have liability there.
Well, right.
And that was taken out by the city council. So the thing is, even the good ideas, sure, you can take shots at them, but unless you were there from the inception, it's very hard to make sound and solid decisions.
Well, and one thing that kind of ties in everything that we do is the fire hall ideal. No, but that's why we're dealing with it. Our department, I would say a large majority of what we do is dealing with non-ideal properties. We're trying to do something positive at a fire hall instead of demolishing it, taking down the tax base and still owning it. We are working with, like, the Housing Visions Project on the old school district admin building that the caller mentioned. We're dealing with vacant houses. These are all non-ideal situations that we're trying to find some positive tax-producing solutions. None of them are going to be perfect. But at the end of the day, if it leads to tax production on a building instead of vacancy and no taxes, that means something. It means something to, like you said, a resident in any part of the city.
No, exactly. We do have another caller on the line. Caller, you're on.
Yeah, just one off topic of the Isaiah 61. The Niagara Hotel by the Circle downtown.
Mm-hmm.
The last time I looked, it was still owned by a Canadian developer, Stinson Development.
Mm-hmm.
And according to them, they were supposed to be done with that building in 2013. I don't know if you know any information on it or who I could call and talk to about it.
Well,
To see if there's anything happening to it, because it's just sitting there.
yeah.
That's a historic building, you know. It was built. It was considered a skyscraper when it was built, and supposedly Marilyn Monroe and Joe DiMaggio were there. So I'm just wondering if there's any information on that building.
I share your frustration. I'm sure
I love that building.
That building is very frustrating. It is still owned by the same owner. He has not obviously met the timeline that was expected. He is still saying that there's going to be some changes to that timeline soon. We are, everyone's waiting at this point. It's very frustrating because it's right out, like you said, right when you head into the city. It's right there.
And even though it was a state-of-the-art building when it was built and a beautiful building when it was built, I mean, I still see beauty in it.
Oh, yeah.
But to fit it into what the market is calling for right now is a very difficult process, just like the United Office building was until Palladino was able to put the pieces together to make it a viable building, now called the Giacomo.
Yeah.
And because I did some research, like I said, and he had a delay on a project in Toronto, and it was like in a condo complex, and it was like his namesake.
Yeah.
The Stinton condo. So I can, you know what I mean? But he's owned the building, and he had a timeline, and that was it,
Well, you brought up the right, like, for instance, you're right. He had something going on in Hamilton that was taking a lot. But we are, listen, everyone's getting anxious for that one because even with buildings going up around it, that's the one that you see
Welcome Center
first.
across the street,
Right.
It's
Welcome
right
Center,
there.
that's a busy spot. That Welcome Center is pretty busy.
Yep.
And anyone who's trying to get to any one of those 4 streets has to use that circle.
Yep. No, you're absolutely right. We are as anxious as you are. We're hoping now that project in Canada is wrapped up that we're going to learn some more soon.
Thank you very much, caller.
I'm not the only one,
No, you're definitely not. You're definitely
Thank you
not.
very much. No, you got to
thank
bring
you.
those things up. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, it's tough. I mean, private developers, it's tough because especially when timelines get then delayed. One thing I do want to say, which I think is really refreshing, is the building that the Piccirillo-Niagara, the Wingate by Wyndham, that's going up on Rainbow Boulevard,
Right.
where to see someone, one day a building started going up.
Right, exactly.
It's for me, it's really impressive to watch because there's guys working 7 days a week. They are moving forward, but the caller's right. I mean, when you leave the park, you're seeing the Hotel Niagara.
No, exactly. So, caller, you're on.
Hey, good morning, guys. How you doing?
Good.
Hey, what is this idea that they're kicking around about opening up a zoo? Is that by imagination or what?
I've not heard that, so I don't know. I mean, that doesn't mean it's not being discussed by somebody, but I have not heard that.
I don't know. I must be imagining things because I thought there was going to be some kind of a profile between the Rainbow Mall and possibly some kind of a hitch up with the zoo of some sort, and I must have gotten.
This voice sounds familiar. This voice sounds familiar. I thought originally you were talking about City Hall.
No, not that somebody could be talking about it. It's something that I don't know about at least. So.
Okay, what about 39th Street School?
Yes.
What do you envision happening in that area?
Thank you for bringing that up. Last night, the city RFP'd the property, I think 2 months ago. DePaul Development, it's based in Rochester, responded to the RFP. You might have seen about 8 weeks ago, there was a newspaper story about the fact that they want to do veterans housing, right?
Right.
They had a meeting, and the city encouraged them to do this, with residents of the neighborhood surrounding 39th Street School last night, right? and they had a very frank conversation of what the neighborhood wants and what they will not tolerate.
Right.
They want it to be veterans housing. They don't want it to be veterans housing, but it end up to be mental health housing or low income, right? So the developer and the community had a very good conversation. The city, I mean, it's zoned as residential. Would it make sense for us to sell a property that instead of us just sitting on it, we've already demolished 39th Street School? Yes, but we want it to be the right fit for the community.
Exactly, and that's
So
very important.
I was really encouraged. Last night, the meeting started a little rough. It was, like I said, it was a little tense at first because there is a lot of mistrust about development, but it ended up about after the first hour being a real conversation. What DePaul has agreed to do with the community is if they move forward with wanting to purchase the property, having the community be part of how it's designed so that it wouldn't create heavy traffic patterns on streets like Sherwood and the offshoots. So that's where we're at right now. The city has basically connected the developer in the neighborhood to talk about it.
Yep. We're down to.
That definitely could be a definite gateway to the city. You know, I mean, this is where everybody comes in and they get their first real look at what's going on down Ferry and
Sure.
everything. And you know, you think you'd want to have a nice presentation when you see this decorative. I can envision, like, I hate to go back at it, the fountains and all that other things.
See, I like all that stuff. I
think that really vitalizes the city.
I think, yeah, you head right into the city through that thoroughfare. So I agree. It's like a first impression opportunity, just like the Hotel Niagara is downtown. So, but that,
Right.
with that development, the key is that we connected the developer that is interested in purchasing the property with the neighborhood, and we want that communication to continue.
You know, we have some callers on the line, but we're down to the last 30 seconds or so.
Okay.
Seth,
Thank you, caller.
Thank you very much, caller.
Okay, bye now.
Bye-bye. Seth, I want to thank you very much, for showing up.
My pleasure.
I know I always, appreciate when people in government come up to the show and really get the, residents up to speed, and I hope my hope and prayers are that we can get county officials to come here and start updating the public. So again, I want to thank you very
Thanks.
much. You're a regular here, and thank you. And this is Vince Anello Show, and next Tuesday I'll be by myself, and I hope to bring some interesting topics because certainly we appreciate the changes that are being made, but we can't stop. If we're developing some momentum, we have to keep going. Thank you very much, folks.